From mammoth fossils to bizarre sea creatures found in the Canadian Sea, there's a blurry line between myth and reality. But what happens when a scientific discovery sparks genuine terror, not just campfire stories and conspiracy theories? That's the reality gripping the world right now, all coming from a recent find in the wilds of Canada. What could have emerged from the Canadian wilderness that would send shivers down the spines of people across the globe? That being said, let's dive into the possible occurrences in Canada that have just emerged and really terrify the whole world. 1. Ancient ruins. Older than the pyramids. Archaeologists just unearthed something mind-blowing on Terrifies Island, Canada. We're talking about a 14,000-year-old village 3 times older than those fancy Egyptian pyramids. This discovery is a total game-changer for understanding how humans first landed in North America. Put aside what you learned in school about people trekking across a land bridge. This village by the sea suggests these early humans were also champion sailors. And you need to know that the tools they left behind are memorable. Spears and harpoons tell us they were skilled hunters, while fish hooks hint at a deep understanding of fishing. You've got to survive somehow. Plus, there's leftover charcoal, which means they had a fire on lock for warmth, cooking, and even crafting tools. But the story continues. By analyzing the charcoal, scientists figured out that sea levels around Terrifies Island have mostly stayed the same in the last 15,000 years. Talk about a stable neighborhood. This likely gave these ancient people a solid place to call home for a long, long time. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Studying this site is like cracking open a history book filled with secrets about these early North Americans. Their lives, culture, and how they got around are all waiting to be unraveled. So keep your eyes open for future digs and research. This discovery is just the first chapter in rewriting the story of human settlement in North America. 2. 500-million-year-old jellyfish. Imagine finding a really old fossil, older than anything you've ever seen. That's precisely what happened in the fantastic mountains of British Columbia, Canada. Fossil hunters, who are like detectives for old things, found a 500-million-year-old jellyfish fossil. That's right, a real jellyfish, the oldest grown-up one ever seen. This discovery is like a secret door opening into a mysterious past, especially for squishy creatures that don't usually leave fossils behind. This brand new jellyfish, named Burgess Medusa phaeomuriformis, is the first one ever found in a particular place called the Burgess Shale. It's like a graveyard for excellent fossils from way back in the Cambrian period, over 500 million years ago. This was a time when life on Earth was really taking off, with all sorts of new creatures appearing. Here's the crazy part. The Burgess Shale was found in 1909. But somehow, these Burgess Medusa fossils hid for over 100 years. Scientists think they may have been missed because they're different from other jellyfish fossils. Even though they were kind of thought to be jellyfish at first, it took a while to officially describe them. It is like a ghostly upside-down umbrella, almost 7 inches tall, with over 90 little tentacles. That's what Burgess Medusa looked like. This find shows that prehistoric jellyfish were pretty similar to the ones we know today, floating around and using their tentacles to catch food. Finding Burgess Medusa is like adding a new jewel to the treasure chest, which is the Burgess Shale. It helps scientists understand how jellyfish and other soft creatures evolved over time. By studying Burgess Medusa more, they might even figure out exactly where it fits in the jellyfish family tree, like a missing puzzle piece. 3. Functional truck made of ice block. A vehicle worthy of the Ice King himself, a truck sculpted entirely from ice. In 2014, Canadian Tire, based in Ontario, brought this concept to life. Their goal? To showcase the power of their MotoMaster Eliminator Ultra battery, designed to conquer sub-zero temperatures. This icy machine wasn't just a gimmick, but a functional truck. But building a car out of ice has its challenges. To make it work, the team needed 14,000 pounds of ice and a whole lot of patience. They first put the MotoMaster battery to the test, cranking it up in -40 degrees Celsius weather to ensure it would start the icy engine. The final product was an ice truck that cruised at a respectable 12 miles per hour for a whole mile. Transforming over 14,000 pounds of ice into a functioning vehicle is no minor deal, and the finished product was as excellent as the original idea. The creators poured their hearts and a ton of ice into making this project a reality. 4. A mummified baby mammoth named Nun Cho Gie. Canada just stumbled upon a baby woolly mammoth frozen in time. I mean, a perfectly preserved little fuzzball over 30,000 years old. Just imagine a prehistoric cuddle buddy trapped in the ice. This remarkable discovery was a tiny female mammoth curled up like a sleeping kitten, except, mammoths are giant and not exactly cuddly. Even her fur and little tusks were still in great shape. Scientists are working with the Trondek Huachin people whose land this discovery was made on. They even gave the little one a cool name, Nunchoga, which means big baby animal in their language. This find is an achievement because it's the most complete mammoth ever found in North America. Before Nunchoga, the best we had was just some bones of a baby mammoth. One paleontologist working on the project said it was a lifelong dream to see an actual woolly mammoth. And guess what? Thanks to Nunchoga, that dream came true. Scientists are super excited to learn more about these fuzzy giants and the world they live in. They think Nunchoga might have shared her days with wild horses and even cave lions. By studying her, we can unlock the secrets of the Ice Age and how these fantastic creatures lived. 5. Gruesome discovery of severed feet. British Columbia beaches have a creepy reputation. It all started in 2007 when a sneaker-clad foot washed ashore on Jedediah Island. And guess what? Over the next decade, more feet kept showing up, shoes and all. It was extraordinary. Laura Yazedzian, who figures out who body parts belong to, has been cracking these cases. Thankfully, there wasn't any foul play involved. Here's the weird part. Those shoes act like little life jackets for feet, keeping them afloat and drifting around with the currents. Not exactly a comforting image. Even though it's not murder, it's still a drag for families of missing people. But there's a bright side. The BC Coroner's Service, like Sherlock Holmes for body parts, has solved 13 cases by matching the feet DNA to missing person reports. In one case, a lonely left foot with a blue sock and a Nike shoe finally brought closure to a worried family after years of waiting. Things got more interesting. There's a pair of unidentified size 12 New Balance shoes chilling on a beach. Scientists think these might have belonged to someone who went missing near Washington and drifted over to Canada. The investigation is stuck on pause until they get a lead. There's a good to this, though. All this attention means people are way more careful about leaving shoes lying around on the beach. There probably are only a few forgotten shoes on a BC beach. 6. Massive mammoth skull. Dinosaur hunters in Alberta, Canada, were poking around rocks when they hit the jackpot, a giant dinosaur skull. This wasn't your average dino head, though. This belonged to a Pachyrhinosaurus, a bizarre-looking creature that was basically a mix of Triceratops and a giant parrot. Seriously, prehistoric times were wild. This skull is ancient, clocking in at around 70 million years, and is about the size of a smart car. That's one massive head. What makes this find extra special is how complete it is. You won't believe that it is 75% to 80% there, which is really rare for dinosaur fossils. Plus, this skull belonged to a full-grown Pachyrhinosaurus, so that scientists can learn a lot more about these guys than from baby dino skulls. The funny part is that the whole thing started with a bumpy rock. Zelenitsky's team was just checking out some rocks in Drumheller, nicknamed Dinosaur Capital of the World, when they saw something weird. What started as a casual dig turned into a months-long mission to unearth this massive skull. They had to move 5 tons of rock. Even though this Pachyrhinosaurus had a head the size of a car, it was actually a plant eater. They had a beak to rip leaves and chompers in the back to grind it all up. But the most remarkable feature was this flat plate on its head. Unlike Triceratops with pointy horns, Pachyrhinosaurs used these bony plates to headbutt each other, probably to show off who was boss or win over a date. 7. The pungent smell of 17-year-old fish sauce. Living in a cute little Canadian town by the sea called St. Mary, sounds idyllic. Well, for the past 17 years, things have been smelly, like hold your nose, shut the windows smelly. The culprit was a dream gone wrong. In 1990, a Vietnamese immigrant wanted to share his delicious seafood sauce with Canada, so he built a factory on the outskirts of town. Initially, it seemed like a great idea, but things went south faster than a forgotten fish pie in the back of the fridge. Canadian health inspectors weren't too impressed with his, shall we say, unique production methods. By 2000, the factory was shut down for good, leaving behind a horrifying legacy: giant vats overflowing with fermenting fish sauce. For almost 20 years, these vats have been brewing a symphony of disgusting odors. Leaks sprung up like unwanted guests at a party, spilling the funky fish sauce everywhere. Floors, drains, even the building itself. Someone even tried to plug the drains with cement, thinking it would trap the smell, and it ended up being a big mistake. Now, a stagnant pool of rotten seafood sauce festering on the factory floor like a never-ending bowl of bad breath. 8. Bizarre crooked bush. In the heart of Saskatchewan, Canada, there's this weird forest called the Crooked Bush. It's not the usual straight up and down aspen trees you usually see. These are like contortionists, all twisted and bendy in a way that's equal parts strange and cool. Typically, aspen trees reach for the sky like everyone else, but the Crooked Bush is full of aspen rebels who decide to do their own thing. Their branches are all swirly and curly. This freaky forest was first spotted in the 1940s and has become a natural tourist attraction. To protect the trees and let people get a closer look, a unique wooden walkway was built. Walking through there, you'd feel surrounded by these twisted aspen shapes. It's like stepping into another world. Why these trees are so bendy has been a hot topic for ages, with all sorts of theories flying around. Some people whisper about aliens being involved because, come on, look at those shapes. Others tell stories about giant rabbits with a sweet tooth who munched on the sap and messed with the tree's growth. But the most likely explanation, according to science types, is all about genes. They think a mutation happened in these aspen trees, making them grow all twisted. What caused this mutation is still a mystery, which adds to the Crooked Bush's mystique. So next time you're in Saskatchewan and looking for something unusual, check out this bizarre forest. It will leave you scratching your head and maybe taking a few pictures. 9. A dinosaur fossil. Paleontologists in Alberta, Canada, just did a happy dance around a giant fossil, a complete skeleton of a hadrosaur, basically a real-life walking, prehistoric duck-billed dinosaur. And it's nothing like the dramatic Indiana Jones situations with booby traps and rolling boulders. This time, the dinosaur bones were practically waving from a hillside in Dinosaur Provincial Park like, hey there, paleontologists, come check us out. Finding a complete dinosaur skeleton is a super rare chance to see what these magnificent creatures looked like, unlike the detective work paleontologists usually have to do, piecing together tiny bone fragments like a prehistoric jigsaw puzzle. This duck-billed dinosaur isn't your average small size. Like 65 to 75 million years ago, they stomped around during the Cretaceous period and were seriously big-boned herbivores. We're saying 23 to 26 feet tall and weighing a considerable size of 2 to 4 tons. That's a lot of lizards. With this complete skeleton, paleontologists can geek out on everything from the dinosaur's bone structure and how it grew to how this giant beast moved and hung out in its environment. So next time you're scrolling through social media, remember that a whole world of scientific discovery is happening. And who knows, maybe the next big find is waiting underground, begging for a curious paleontologist or you to dig it up. 10. The perfectly preserved wolf pup. Meet Jur, a female wolf pup who defied the odds and became a scientific superstar. Nicknamed after wolf in the Hain language by the local Trondheim Huichin First Nation people, Jur was practically a time medicine frozen in permafrost. Unlike most fossils, just a jumble of bones, Jur had all her fur, skin, and soft tissues intact. A paleontologist's dream come true. Thanks to X-ray technology, researchers peeked inside Jur and discovered she was just a tiny pup of 6 or 7 weeks old when she met her demise. But how did this little furball end up buried in frozen mud for so long? Stable isotope analysis, a fancy scientific technique, revealed Jur lived in a time with much less ice and more rivers and streams, explained Meechan. It seems Jur lived the good life in a lush environment. But what did this prehistoric pup eat? Isotope analysis provided another clue. It turns out Jur and her mama were like sushi chefs of the animal kingdom, feasting on a diet rich in aquatic delicacies like salmon and maybe even some shorebirds. By analyzing Zhu's DNA, scientists discovered she belonged to an ancient wolf lineage, a distant relative of modern wolves that roamed Russia, Siberia, and Alaska. She's like a cousin to the wolves of her time, said Meechan. The twist is that Ice Age wolves differed significantly from their modern counterparts. Their DNA shows a significant change over time, like a wolf family reunion where everyone looks a little different from each other. Preserving a creature in permafrost is like winning the paleontological lottery, and Zhu is scarce in North America. She had to die in the perfect spot, permafrost ground that's always frozen, and get buried quickly, explained Meechan. Leaving her out on the tundra too long would have meant getting eaten or decomposed. The pristine condition of Zhu suggests a quick demise, possibly a sudden den collapse. Based on the lack of signs of starvation, it seems Zhu's final moments weren't spent on an empty stomach. 11. Warm-blooded skunk cabbage tree. It's late February, and the ground is still soaked with a thick white blanket. But wait, where's that funky smell from? It's the skunk cabbage, a little plant with a big stink. This smelly plant lives up to its name for sure. But don't let the odor fool you. It's secretly an interesting plant. Unlike most plants who wait for sunshine to warm up, the skunk cabbage is a self-heating champion. It's got a special power called thermogenesis, basically a built-in furnace. How awesome is that? This fiery flower acts like a tiny heater, melting the snow around it and making a cozy spot for its blooms to peek out, even before spring officially gets here. Talk about an early riser. But the heat wave isn't just for show. Unlike the usual bee crowd, this funky flower throws a bash for flies and beetles. The warmth and, let's be honest, the not-so-pleasant smell attracts these creepy crawlies who help the skunk cabbage spread its pollen. Pretty smart feature. This fiery feature is a clue to the skunk cabbage's ancient history. It's like a plant from way back when holding on to this special trick for millions of years. So next time you catch a whiff of something stinky in early spring, don't hold your nose. 12. Millions of sea creatures invade Canada waters. In 2017, Canadian fishermen reeled in a most unexpected catch. Millions of glowing, translucent creatures that resembled giant cucumbers. These bizarre organisms, known as pyrosomes, are typically found in tropical waters and can reach lengths of up to 30 feet. However, the chilly Canadian waters kept these particular pyrosomes to a more manageable 2 feet. Despite their smaller size, the sheer number of pyrosomes threatened the local ecosystem. These glowing tubes likely migrated north due to hot ocean currents, disrupting the delicate balance of the Canadian waters. For fishermen, this meant hauling in nets filled with thousands of slimy sea tubes instead of their usual catches of salmon or cod. Thankfully, this situation is under control for now. The pyrosome invasion highlights the impact of climate change on marine life and the importance of maintaining a healthy ocean environment. 13. The International Hair Freezing Contest. Forget the usual sports and cultural events. If you think you've done all the sports you can do, then you're wrong. The Yukon Territory in Canada has something truly unique, the International Hair Freezing Contest. This annual February competition at Tahini Hot Springs is as bizarre as brilliant. Imagine dipping in scalding hot springs where the water reaches 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Sounds delightful, right? But the twist here is that the outside air in the Yukon during February is brutally cold, dipping well below freezing. As you emerge from the springs with your hair soaking wet, nature's icy fingers take hold, transforming your damp locks into gravity-defying frozen sculptures. But the Yukoners are hardy, built to withstand negative temperatures. Plus, the chance to win a fabulous $150 cash prize and score some free pool passes at the Tahini Hot Springs is a pretty sweet incentive. But before you pack your swimsuit and head north for a hair-freezing adventure, here is a word of caution from the event organizers. This competition is strictly for the brave souls of the Yukon. Don't try this at home. Let's be honest, most of us don't live in places where water freezes instantly, and risking hypothermia for a hairstyle isn't worth it. So, the next time you're looking for a truly unique winter event, consider the International Hair Freezing Contest. 14. 125-year-old beer bottle. It is a cool day and you're scuba diving in Halifax Harbour, minding your own business, checking out some colourful fish and taking pictures of the beautiful ocean creatures, and then you bump into a bottle. Not just any bottle, mind you, but a bottle that looks like it's been at the bottom of the ocean since your forefathers were still little. That's exactly what happened to a scuba diver in Canada. He found a 125-year-old bottle of Alexander Keith's beer just sitting there, totally mysterious. Can you believe it? This bottle is older than most of the buildings in that town. The craziest part is that the bottle was still half full. Now, most people wouldn't exactly be lining up to drink a beer that's been hanging out with the fishies for over a century, but scientists were super curious. They analyzed the mysterious brew, and guess what? It turned out to be actual beer. They even said it tasted surprisingly good. 15. The little hitchhiking robot. Hitchhiking usually conjures up images of people with questionable mustaches loitering by the side of the road, making you clutch your purse a little tighter. But in 2014, Canada introduced a hitchhiker that rewrote the whole story, Hitchbot. This wasn't your average robot. Hitchbot was an adorable little robot about the size of a kid, ready for a cross-country adventure unlike any other. Hitchbot was a technological marvel equipped with GPS, 3G internet to stay connected, a camera to capture his travels, and even a built-in booster seat for safe rides. This little social butterfly set off on a solo journey from Nova Scotia to British Columbia, documenting and sharing his experiences with the world through social media. It wasn't some fancy science experiment with beakers and lab coats. This was a social experiment with a lot of heart. Hitchbot was determined to venture out into the world and interact with humans. This project flipped the whole humans versus robots thing on its head. Instead of asking if we could trust robots, Hitchbot made us wonder, could robots trust us? Hitchbot relied on his mad communication skills to navigate. He could understand speech, had access to a giant online library for conversation topics, and could even juggle multiple text conversations at the same time. He was a walking, talking bridge between high-tech and human connection. Hitchbot's charm was wider than Canada's. He also traveled across Germany and the Netherlands, winning hearts with his adorable personality. But the USA, the land of opportunity, was a different story. In 2015, Hitchbot set out on a journey from Boston to San Francisco, but sadly, his adventure took a dark turn. Just 2 weeks in, Hitchbot was found vandalized in Philadelphia. What do you think about the discoveries? Let us know in the comments section. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more juicy content. Thank you.